Hello, and welcome back to the Fae Banner Review, where we talk about units released 7 years ago. You know the drill at this point. Today, we have a brand new Choose Your Legends banner featuring old Choose Your Legends units, but newer. And as per tradition, I will be using this coveted line graph that may or may not be a line graph at the end of the day to rank the brand new banner, as well as the circle graph that may or may not be a circle at the end of the day alongside it. Today's rankings will be based on how Choose Your Legendsy the banner is, and if you could hit that like and subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you! First up, we have Harmonic Alm and Eliwood. It's definitely them, but again, except now up to modern standards. That also means modern lifespans. Hopefully it's more than 3 months for them. Let's see. They come with Ice Falchion, which is a slaying dragon effective sword with built-in assist Gale Force. It inflicts -7 attack speed and defense, sabotage, and discord on the closest foes and any foe within 2 spaces of the target after using an assist. It grants Spectrum 15 during combat, 25 true damage, 15 true damage reduction, an additional 15 true damage reduction when a foe's special goes off, and Potent Follow 100. They also come with a PRFA skill and Blessed Bow, which grants Creation Pulse, Attack Liberate, and Speed Liberate at the start of the player phase or enemy phase to himself and allies within 2 spaces. It grants Spectrum 9 during combat, 7 true damage and 7 true damage reduction, full tempo, and he could use Blessed Bow style. Blessed Bow style allows Alm to attack from 5 spaces away once per turn, on top of a Harmonized button that grants Resonance Blades to himself and any ally from Shadows of Valentia and Blazing Blade, as well as another action and cancel refresh to the unit with the highest HP from those titles. Wow, that's definitely nothing like Brave Alm. I won't say it's bad because it isn't, but it's kinda crazy that there's nothing resembling his original gimmick. No extra movement, no wind sweep, just really strong effects. I'm kinda surprised they took a more supportive route with him, but it's definitely in his attack speed favor here. His PRF skill being an A skill is massive since they don't tend to provide support whatsoever. It giving out Attack Liberate and Speed Liberate alongside his weapon inflicting a bunch of stat swings makes it pretty notable. He can also inflict those penalties multiple times a turn, which is great for having them stick. Unfortunately, they don't go off at the start of the turn, which kinda limits how much it can be applied, but it's still good. Besides that though, the rest of his kit leans into combat a fair bit. Obviously there's the style, but he can spam specials thanks to his Creation Pulse support and the tempo effect. I think this works for him because he could take another action to position himself and then swing, so even if it is 5 spaces, it won't be that hard to set up. And he could get more stat swings to help him with his combat, which should allow him to put in decent work. It's pretty straightforward, but it does seem effective enough. There's really not a whole lot to say about him though, and maybe part of that is due to him not diving into either role that hard. He kinda does everything. Granted, everyone does everything nowadays, but I have to wonder if he'd be more effective as a unit if they swapped out an effect to bolster his support or combat instead. I'm sure it's fine though, I think he'll do what he needs to do, but if it's not fine enough, then there's always his fodder. And speaking of which, Alm comes with a bunch of inheritable skills including Reposition Gate, Shatter Slash, Attack Speed Favor, and a brand new, sorta new, C skill in Null Pulse Follow, which grants attack and speed bonuses during combat based on the unit's maximum special cooldown count. It grants 5 true damage and 5 first hits true damage reduction, grants 2 special jumps on the first follow-up attack, and speed-based null follow-up. That's not too shabby. It's Pulse Follow and Null Follow-up as one skill, and sure, it's not the most interesting skill in the world. That's it, it's just kinda bland. But it is pretty good at least. You can't really go wrong with special jumps and Null Follow-up. It can also be used on any infantry unit, so it's a nice alternative option for them. Besides that, Attack Speed Favor is the best skill ever. Shatter Slash is another damage reduction special with stat swings, which is nice, and the Reposition Gate is Reposition. But with Kanto, he's got a lot of really good fodder overall.
Leave it to me.
And other than that, that sure is Alm and Eliwood. This really is a weird unit. There's a lot of roles he kind of falls into, and it makes me wonder if he's spreading himself too thin. At the very least, he's another action eco unit with a 5-space style and a Gale Force button. He also alleviates issues with entering combat and provides a lot of stat support, so that can only be so bad. Next, there's Harmonic Brave Micaiah and Camilla. It's definitely them, but again, let's just see what they do. They come with Dawning Light, which is a slaying, armor, and cavalry effective green tome that has built-in pass, allows them to warp to any space within 2 spaces of an ally within 2 spaces of them. It grants potent follow to themselves and any ally within 2 spaces at the start of the player phase or enemy phase. After the start of the phase, it converts all penalties into bonuses and neutralizes 2 penalty effects on themselves and any ally within 2 spaces. It grants Spectrum 15 during combat, 25 true damage, 15 true damage reduction, and follow-up denial. They also come with Maiden Solace, which is the same harsh command healing skill we've seen on basically every Micaiah. It's not new, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. Her PRF-B skill, on the other hand, is plenty new. Yune's Chirps nullifies adaptive damage, and inflicts -7 attack speed, defense, and res, sabotage, infused on the foes with the highest attack speed, defense, or res, and any foe within 2 spaces of them. It inflicts -5 attack speed and res during combat, inflicts further penalties to the foe's speed and res based on their current penalties or any nearby foes. It grants 20% res-based true damage reduction, 50% damage reduction piercing, and once per combat miracle, on top of a Harmonized button that grants Resonance Blades to herself and any ally from Radiant Dawn and Fates, as well as another action and Canto refresh to the unit with the highest HP from those titles. I'm gonna be honest, there was a lot here at first that I didn't really care about, and I still don't care about. The main thing that really stuck out to me was her B skill, since it inflicts feud and a lot of stat swings multiple times a turn. With every unit having some kind of support in their kit now, feud has only gotten better as a debuff. What's really nice about it applying multiple times a turn is that you can use the Micaiah ring with it and not be punished either. It would give her the ability to apply it 3 times in one turn, cleanse an ally and herself while taking another action, and she could still warp around because of the effects in her weapon. That's amazing utility to have on a unit that already provides solid support. Her ability to warp around is also pretty convenient, since it means she won't have as many issues entering combat. She still has her standard armor and cavalry effectiveness, but she also has Miracle, which means she could abuse Reflex way more easily. Her Miracle is also once per combat, so as long as she can heal, she could constantly loop it and output a great amount of damage. Unfortunately, she has like 20 defense, which people in the industry would call bad. It'll be fine in many cases though, since she has Miracle, but Brave hits will be a problem for sure, and it could also be nullified by anti-Miracle effects since it's not special based. Miracle gets nullified by anti-Miracle. Very insightful, I know. But that aside, I am pretty impressed with what she could do supportively and combatively. I don't think quantity-wise it's as much as Alm's, but the effects she was given more than makes up for it. I think they did a pretty good job with their kit overall. Not so much with her fodder though. They also come with Attack Res Airspace, Attack Res Crux Ploy, and a brand new special in Ice Edge, which is a 5 cooldown special that boosts damage by the entire res stat. It grants 40% first hit special damage reduction, and if the unit has a weapon triangle advantage or if the unit and foe are colorless, it grants Spectrum 5 during combat. That sure is a special, I guess. This is where they've really been pushing design spaces of late because it's one of the last things they've yet to touch on. They get their standard damage reduction, but now they also get additional effects like special jumps and stat swings, and it's just another one of those. I think it's fine. More stats is always nice. It being locked to cavalry and flying units though, not as nice, but what can you do? It's another special option that isn't the same one they print every month, and boosting damage by an entire stat is really good. You really could do worse than this. Besides that, there's Attack Res Airspace and Attack Res Crux Ploy. You can't do any worse than this. Okay, the A skill is fine since it grants a bunch of true damage and stats, but it's attack and res, which makes it harder to pass around. Flat Cancel 2 is good though. Attack Res Crux Ploy, on the other hand, I have no idea how to defend. C skills are so competitive at this point that it's really hard to choose this skill over so many other options. I could see her replacing this for Uplift and Bew really quickly. But yeah, those sure are her skills. For better or worse, they do things sometimes. That's gotta mean something, right?
Let's move.
And other than that, that sure is Micaiah and Camilla. I really like how this unit functions both combatively and supportively. Feud is an insanely strong debuff, and it's something Micaiah can take advantage of really easily thanks to her warping effects. Being able to apply it up to 3 times is also great for having it active, and having Miracle on top of that means she can end up doing a lot more damage with the right support. It feels like a more aggressive take on Attune Micaiah, which is pretty cool. And not speaking of which, we have chosen Laegjarn, and she's a fire season unit. It's the 3rd unit for a gimmick that I really don't care about, to be honest. It's arena-centric stuff, which is not the most appealing thing in the world since the return investment for spending hundreds of orbs is 1 extra orb a week. You know what is appealing though? Her PRF skills. I think. I didn't read them yet. Let's see. Laegjarn comes with Chosen Axe, which is a slaying axe with built-in IOT shield. It grants herself extra movement at the start of the turn, and if there's a stall effect active on her, the movement will be neutralized. At the start of the player phase or enemy phase, it grants 6 visible speed and defense, True Charge, Truly Incited, and Null Panic to herself and any ally within 2 spaces. And after start of turn effects go off, she then increases the visible bonus cap by 3. It grants Spectrum 15 during combat, 25 true damage, 15 true damage reduction, an additional 15 true damage reduction when a foe's special goes off, and the 50% special damage reduction piercing effect. She also comes with a PRFC skill in Resolving Flame, which grants herself and allies within 3 rows and columns of her bonus doubler based on the highest bonus stats between herself and allies on the map. The Breath effect, and allies get 10 true damage during combat. Laegjarn herself gets a bunch of true damage based on the highest total stat bonuses between herself, the foe, and any ally within 3 rows and columns of her. True damage reduction based on 50% of that total, full no follow-up, 7 HP after combat, and after start of turn skills go off, she destroys the enemy's Divine Vein ice effects within 3 rows and columns of her. That's a lot of support. I don't really know where to begin with this. Oh, I know, the beginning. One of the things that makes Strat Assault super good is that True Charge alleviates issues with mobility, and her giving it out is incredibly good. I think it's also important considering her C skill is occupied, which means she's losing out on a lot of options. I'll get into that a bit more in a second, but it is pretty important. Besides that, between Truly Incited support, the Eikthenir stat cap effect that I don't think has a proper name, and the bonus doubler support from her C skill, she could give out a very easy Spectrum 18 by herself, which is a lot of stats. That's also on top of some true damage support, which is great, and breath, which is not great. It's fine, but it's kind of forgettable. And of course, breaking ice terrain is fantastic. Being able to get around defense teams a bit more will always be useful. It doesn't help with vert terrain, but you don't have to spend an action breaking the ice at least. And don't get me started on her combat effects. Please don't. I'd rather not. They're fine, but it's also the most basic of basic stuff. She gets a lot of true damage and true damage reduction. The copy and pasted baseline every unit gets now, and no follow-up, which isn't bad, but it's also nothing spectacular either. I think they put most of her power budget into the support, which is fine because she has a lot of support to work with. Breaking ice alone is very strong. However, the fact that her PRF skill is a C skill sets a cap on what she can do both supportive and combatively. The latter especially since she can't run Deadly Miasma. That would have been really great to have here since it would allow her to get around vert, but thankfully IS found a solution to that by glitching her. Deploying 2 Laegjarns at once will remove the vert terrain the ice leaves behind. For some reason, honestly I have to wonder what their deal is because they're well aware of the issue, but they're waiting an entire month to fix it. Please refrain from intentionally making use of this issue. I sure will, wink. It's not even that good of a glitch. I don't think most people would even deploy 2 Laegjarns for this when you could just run a baby Camilla and achieve a better outcome. It is funny that they're asking people not to do it though, but even without it, Laegjarn has a lot of really great stuff going on. I wouldn't even think about foddering her. And speaking of fodder, Laegjarn also comes with Arc Rival, Blue Sky Gust, and a brand new B skill in Blue Sky Wyvern, which inflicts -4 attack speed and defense during combat, follow-up denial, 20% speed-based or defense-based true damage, and true damage reduction based on which stat is higher, potent follow 100 if the unit either can't make a follow-up and hit twice, or if they have more speed and defense than the foe, otherwise it's potent 50, and if the unit has more speed and defense than the foe, it increases the speed difference necessary for the foe to make a follow-up attack by 20. That sure is a flyer beast skill, I guess. It's not even that bad, but Heavenly Soar exists and that skill is still really strong. Unconditional 5-space warping is incredible, but at least to this skill's credit, it does have the speed-based frozen effect, which I think is pretty solid. It makes your melee flyers less susceptible to potent follow effects, which is great since they keep putting that effect out on everything. I think it will just depend on what kind of build you want to run, but generally speaking, I don't know if you'd run this over Heavenly Soar most of the time. Besides that, Blue Sky Gust is, in fact, Blue Sky Gust. It's good, they keep printing it, but it's good. And Arc Rival is also good, and they also keep printing it a lot. If nothing else, her fodder is pretty splashable thanks to those skills. Maybe she's worth foddering after all.
As you say.
And other than that, that sure is Laegjarn. I like what she could do supportively, but combatively, it's kind of hit or miss. Having her C skill be occupied is a pretty huge opportunity cost, and not being able to get around Divine Vein Vert stinks if you're doing hit and run stuff. They honestly should have made the glitch a feature, and that would have been good enough. But besides that, she provides a lot of stat support and mobility support, and breaking ice by itself is still a really useful niche. I think she'll put in a fair bit of work. And then we have the free stuff. there is no free stuff. These banners eat up a Grand Hero battle unit and a D-melt, which sucks. I honestly think they could do themselves some favors by at least using these banners to get some other characters in that otherwise wouldn't fit on a banner. Like characters from games that are basically out of units or ones that score high in CYL. It's mostly food for thought, but it is what it is. But other than that, that sure is the banner. Yep. Okay, bye. And now that we've gone over the brand new old units, I think it's time we rank the banner on the line graph that may or may not be a line graph at the end of the day. And would you look at that? The brand new banner has earned a 3 out of 10 on the line graph. And based on my understanding of the banner, I believe that it would be best fit somewhere around this area of the circle graph. They all do something solid enough to where having a single copy of any of them could be worthwhile. Maybe not more than that though, since they're going to patch some of it out. And you may be wondering to yourself, are they actually old units or new units? Which honestly, it's hard to say. The banner overall has a lot of nice stuff, and I think each unit contributes something solid. Alm is an action eco unit with a 5-space style and Gale Force button, so he has a lot of actions by himself. You could always poke the backline of an Aetherite's defense team or inflict a bunch of stat swings as a means of supporting other units. He's kind of weird overall as a unit, but I think he's interesting enough, and I could definitely see a fair bit of applications with him. Micaiah is a Miracle Warper with feud support, and that's really strong by itself. She could also inflict it multiple times a turn, which can get around so many things, and considering most units provide support these days, it's going to be incredibly useful in all kinds of modes. I kinda wish she provided warp support to allies like her Attune did, but I could definitely appreciate a more combative angle this time, and for the support she already has, it will be good enough for a while. And Laegjarn is really front-loaded with support in general between her weapon and C skill. She gives out a bunch of stat support with Truly Incited and the bonus doubler stuff. She grants True Charge for mobility, other things, but they were pretty good too. I think the only problem I have with her is that her pure F skill is the C skill, which means she can't use stuff like Deadly Miasma to get around Vert. But besides that, Breaking Ice is still amazing, and I think that'll be good enough for Aetherite's offense clearing. And overall, all these units provide something, which I think is a good place to be in with any kind of banner. That said, you could definitely live without these units, and considering what's currently active, it could be worth skipping. The Emblem Roy banner is still active, and he's an insanely strong unit with a really good Emblem Ring effect. He's also sharing with Emblem Lucina and Harmonic Celica, which is really great. I definitely think that's more of a priority. There's also the Bride banner, which has some nice stuff on it, but it'll depend on what you need more. Peony is a Reflex Cancel Refresh Dancer, Air's an Action Eco Cleanser, and Reagan is very bad. There's a lot to consider from that banner. We're also going to be getting a summer banner this month if you'd rather wait and see what that has. None of these banners are going to go away until we know what that has, which I think is the smartest move. There's way too much notable stuff currently active. That said, you really couldn't go wrong with summoning on this banner TBH, 2BH, to be quite H. Now to wait for the inevitable dual Edelgard and dual Dimitri. They'll be here before you know it.
Worry more!